The Hall of Famers with us, Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. How are you, sir?
I'm good, guys. I kind of tuned into the last bit of your little
we started that started in the
match?
break. I was trying to explain that in my point, that is, if Zach Edey was 6'9" instead of 7'4", and you don't have to change the size of Trayce Jackson-Davis for this analogy, Dustin, because that's not what it is. It's at that height, and that's the difference. His difference is not being 6'9", it's being 7'4". It's not about being 6'2". It's the difference between that, because that is a size that hardly a few humans on planet Earth are. So if he's 6'9", he is not even he's an average player.
Nobody. I'm not disagreeing with that, but that's part of it.
Okay, good.
Like Shaq was 7 foot, 300 pounds, and he dominated the game. If he wasn't 7 foot, he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Like
he was a dominant player, but he wasn't a great basketball player.
My point is that if you're going to shave 7 inches off of Zach Edey's height, and you want to do that, I'm going to do that with Trayce Jackson-Davis. He can't shoot. He didn't expand his game. If he's 6'2", 6'3", he's not playing college basketball anywhere important, because he can't do anything.
But I didn't say he could play as a guard. You're missing the point. But regardless of that, welcome aboard Rick Bozich as the ever-changing world of As the World Turns with college basketball and the portal, of course, Louisville, Indiana. Earlier, we were talking about with Jeff Goodman joined us, and he's got Duke listed as his preseason favorite next year because they've got everybody back. And I'm thinking, yeah, I could think of a couple of teams, North Carolina and Kentucky, who thought they had that too. And boy, did things go south for two teams that had great talent. There's no doubt about that. But it went awry. And that's with a group that had familiarity with each other. And we've got other teams, or most of these teams, that are bringing in transfers and having to get together. So it's kind of odd to see college basketball right now, how it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous to try and forecast who's going to be good and not be good next year at this time. You look back last year in November when the AP preseason top 25 came out, the only team in the Final Four that was in the top 25 was San Diego State, and I think they were 19th. UConn was like 27th. FAU obviously wasn't ranked.
They weren't predicted to be in the Final Four?
No. So, yeah, I mean, let's wait and see who all the players are that transfer and where they go. And then you never know how it's going to mesh. And what we learned, I think, this year is that some of the players who became impact players in college basketball weren't the most highly regarded transfer pickups. You can get a guy that the talent evaluators might not be gaga over because they don't, jump high, they don't run fast, they weren't McDonald's All-Americans or whatever.
Didn't pass the Wonderlic test.
But they're good team players. They go to a school and fit in and do their role, what they're asked to do. All these guys who transfer, the ones who are doing it for the money or to get more shots, that's one thing. But there's a lot of guys who are doing it because they want to go somewhere and win. And I'll tell you a good example. Like yesterday, probably the most under-reported, under-heralded pick in the transfer portal, there's a guard by the name of Walter Clayton, who was a starting guard for Pitino this year at Iona, and he picked Florida. And I guarantee you that kid's going to be an impact player next year at Florida. Nobody's talking about it. We're all focused on everybody else.
Anybody under the tutelage of someone like that, anybody under the tutelage of someone like Pitino, especially a guard,
right?
I mean, you want to talk about producing talent. Everyone likes to talk about, and I don't have a dog in this fight. Everyone likes to talk about Calipari and all this talent he, quote unquote, produced, the one and dones. That's not producing talent. Pitino produced talent. Your boy on Memphis's team, who's having a bunch of trouble now, but on
John Morant,
yes, he was not even expected to either go that year or be a high pick that year, I think. And
Right.
he just continues to put it out. But yeah, I love that. And that's the thing. It's Houston. I saw that they, bam, first thing they do, pick up 2 good shooting guards, scoring guards. I'm like going, want to keep winning, and they do, and they get right back at it. So Indiana now, of course, they have to get some scorers, wings, guys who can shoot the ball. We keep talking about this. It's a broken record, but they've got to do it, and it has to happen. And I'm not saying it has to happen today or tomorrow. There could be conversations going on that we're not privy to, but guys like Necht and Ledlam and those guys, there was a commitment that, or a Deloche, who is 6'9", he's a big, but his visit was canceled because I'm assuming this knee surgery was unexpected by Mike Woodson.
I don't know. Is that why the visit was canceled? Because Woody's not available?
Yeah. Because it was still on as of yesterday morning.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess it was unexpected. I don't know whether something, whether he, twisted it or fell or something. I hope not. But I haven't even seen whether it was a scope or was it actually like a ligament damage or what was it? It was
man, you never know. Could knee replacement or who knows? But even with that, it doesn't take long back on their feet. So I'm sure that'll be rescheduled very quickly. He's off to Penn State this weekend, where Mike Rhodes, now from VCU, and then his former teammate Ace Baldwin Jr., the reigning A-10 Player of the Year, is already committed to Penn State. Which that's got to be an exciting thing for Penn State. They've got some Jews coming in. That's some excitement. It's hard to get excitement in Penn State basketball.
Right. I mean, that's a decent hire. They found a guy that really was a guy you could build with in Shrewsbury, and he leaves after 2 years, which isn't a good look for their program. Penn State's kind of program, if you're going to go in there and you win, you need to get out as fast as you can, because you can't sustain it. There's no great recruiting base. There's no great tradition. There's no great urgency from the fans to win. It's a football school. Really, the only thing you could sell is opportunity to play and being in the Big Ten. But Rhodes seemed to be a sort of a hard-nosed, gritty type dude, and we'll see what happens. I'm not sure about Deloche, but I agree with you. Indiana needs to get a 2-guard and a wing, or two small forwards, whatever you. 2 guys who are threats to score the ball either off the dribble or from the perimeter. They need 2 of them, in my opinion.
Absolutely, minimum.
Plus for CJ Gunn to develop, they need that.
And Caleb Banks, because I think he could be one of those guys. He's
Trey Galloway. I mean, yeah.
Trey Galloway is, to me, is just always going to be a solid player and someone who's going to surprise you sometimes. But I don't think that he is going to push it enough. I think that he's trying to play within his game so much that he doesn't take the chances by putting up enough 3-point shots. Just putting up 1 or 2 3-point shots a game, that didn't cut it for Indiana. You need more. Now, we've seen Miller Kopp say that they don't run sets. I understand that, but the ball's in your hands plenty of times and you're behind the stripe. And if you're with him, he was 6'7". I'm like, dude, go up, shoot over top of somebody. But they've got to get these guys that want to score, but not like Tamar Bates, who kind of seemed like he started to play outside of the framework of the offense. But then I can understand maybe he was frustrated because of things like Miller Kopp said. This was a 2-man game. It was Jalen Hood-Schifino and Trey Jackson-Davis. And, there was not much else invitation for offense, it seemed like.
Well, and to that point, I feel like, and Rick, I want your thoughts on this too. Moving on from the Trace Race era, I think while they were great players, they obviously had incredible impact on the team, and over that transition from the Archie Miller to Mike Woodson era, they can play now a different brand of basketball that is more up-tempo, what Mike Woodson probably wants to play. Like, it's not good that you're losing 2 good players and 2 quality players, but at the same time, I feel like it's time to move on, and they have the potential to be more explosive if they do get those guys that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously a chance for a reset of going away from the post emphasis that Indiana really has had going back to Juwan Morgan. I mean, that's the way they've played for a number of years, and to have a little bit more of an open offensive approach, get back to more guys on the perimeter, comfortable of taking and making threes, and playing a little bit faster. To me, the most alarming stat from Indiana's season last year was they were like, what, 358th in the country or 357th in percentage of
shot attempts
taken from 3 points. I mean, that is going against the grain in a heavy way. And if you're going to do that, you better be like first or second in the country in efficiency in shooting 2-point shots, because when you're getting in games where you're only taking 7 or 8 threes and the other team's taking 20 to 25. Mathematically, you're putting yourself in a tough situation.
Yeah, and so now Indiana continues to move forward as this portal process. It's not something that has an expiration date per se of getting this done, but it needs to get done as soon as possible for a couple of reasons. A, to get it done with. B, to plan to get these guys together as soon as possible to start playing together. And you've got other stuff that's got to get worked out, NIL stuff, transcripts coming in from all over different places, and it's getting everyone on the same page. And then Woody's going to have to figure out what he has so he can figure out what kind of offense he's going to run next year. Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard to get a handle on this. And I'll give you an example that yesterday I talked to a couple of coaches, and I can't share them here, but they gave me the names of 2 starting guards in Power 5 programs who aren't in the portal, but who had made it known
that they're going
to school that they wanted to talk and see what the opportunities were elsewhere. So
is that kind of like the exact opposite of Haley Van Lith?
That's just 2. I'm sure there are many more than that of guys who have a good situation where they're at, and they don't want to cause a stir at their school by putting their name in the portal yet.
And that is the smartest thing to do
out there. And so anybody could be in play. Anybody could be in play. So I don't think our imagination is powerful enough to figure out who else might be out there. So it's so early in the process that right now we're focused in on all these names like Connect and Ludlam and Deloach and the kid that isn't coming to Indiana anymore, Caden Shedrick, I guess it was, of Virginia, and on and on. But there's other guys out there who aren't even on these hot board lists who are possibilities.